Hi, Michaela with Michaela's Counseling here. I just did a video on dismissive avoidant attachment and found that there is more that I want to say about it. One thing that I want to mention is that I think dismissive avoidant attachment styles, they get a bad rap. Sometimes they get a bad rap in relationships. Oh, my partner's dismissive avoidant, and so he just won't connect with me. All he wants to do is be alone. Or it gets a bad rap even in the therapy world sometimes. Oh, that client is so dismissive. I actually had a client referred to me, this was years ago, but I was told, oh, she's so dismissive. There's no chance that she's going to stay with the counseling. And I'm so glad that I walked into the session without taking that judgment to heart because she was such a rewarding client and amazing and just so layered in her thinking and so perceptive. And there was so much that I learned working with her. And she had depths of tenderness that this other person hadn't guessed at. And the reason that she hadn't guessed at it was because she saw this kind of push away that this person seemed to have and just didn't know, or didn't look for the good of that strategy. So one of the really fun things that we started doing was actually welcoming the part of her that did not want to be there, didn't think she needed to be there, and the part that just really hated all of this feeling stuff, because that part actually had some things to say. And just as importantly, that part had not been welcomed very much. She had gotten that exact kind of reception in counseling before. And one of the paradoxes of dismissive avoidant is if we try to dismiss the dismissal, if we try to kind of skate around the avoidance, the part of you that has that strategy is not going to feel respected, and it's going to be that much harder to engage. So I really do a lot of respecting, resonating with, empathizing, and trying to calibrate connection to for people who have this strategy, to really help that side feel welcomed. And I want to talk a little bit about what I think the really cool things are about dismissive avoidance style, that I want to give you some ideas. Like, how do you actually befriend this side of yourself? So one of the things that I see the most with the dismissive avoidance strategy, I feel like I'm saying that word so much. I think we might just start shortening to DA or something. Um, okay, but people who have this strategy have a deep hunger for authenticity. And further than that, they have a really deep sense of when authenticity is lacking. One of the things I love about working with somebody with this style is that they will notice it in a heartbeat if I say something and like there's another part to what I'm feeling. Not even that what I'm saying isn't truthful, but like, is there something else that you were thinking right there? And it's really interesting. And I mean, often in the beginning, that's not how they express it at all, right? Like they'll respond to something that feels short of the full truth or full authenticity with a bit of a pushback. Um, or cynicism. But I think that's so important to notice. And what I find very often when people are kind of, something isn't passing their sniff test, or there's something that kind of is riveting their attention about something, from 5 minutes back, or something isn't landing right, is there's a piece, there's another piece of genuineness that they're looking for. So I think that is a really important thing to know about yourself, is that this strategy actually is not so much about avoiding connection as it is about avoiding inauthentic connection. This part of you is so fiercely on your side and does not want you to be tricked, does not want you to be drawn in. You are going to be really amazing at warning friends who are about to get into a cult or a pyramid scheme or a relationship that's too good to be true. And that same radar is there for you. So, I mean, the caveat, the thing to look out for is if every single person that you meet is not good enough, if everything that somebody says that's warm doesn't seem to kind of pass the sniff test, that might be some extra guardedness, some extra cynicism that's actually making it hard for you to take in the real discernment. So, But the good news is you're analytical. And so you're going to be able to track patterns. You're going to be able to notice, like, what are the common denominators in people that I don't get along with, or the kinds of coaches or therapists that I really just don't want to work with. And by the way, it's different for different people. I mean, for some DA folks, like, I am so completely the wrong fit because there's something in my mannerism that doesn't work for them, that doesn't resonate with that part. And then for others, it's like really a good match. And then we kind of work through the moments that are rocky because there are more rocky moments with these guys, I think, and it's because it's that commitment to truth again. It's the commitment to truth, and it's also the testing the waters in relationships, which is another thing I actually want to encourage you to cultivate deliberately. And this is another thing I encourage people to do with me, is test me a little bit. Like, try giving me a disclosure that doesn't go there the full way, that's not going to make you feel too vulnerable, but is actually going to let you check out, am I going to be understanding? Am I going to take in what you're saying? Am I going to get too warm and gushy? And is that actually going to overwhelm you? And if I do that, if I overwhelm your circuits, am I going to pull back? Like, are we going to be able to navigate this? And the thing is, if you don't test, you don't get that information. So you can almost come in to something like counseling with this style and really look at it as like, I'm going to collect some data. I'm going to see what happens if I share this thing or if I talk about this mannerism, and I'm going to see if this person can navigate it. I'm going to talk about how a part of me, this is the absolute last place I want to be, or a part of me wants to slap you when you use that tonality. Maybe not that wording, but actually I think it's there's something so beautiful in these impulses, because sometimes you do want to shake people, right? And the reason is that you're just looking so deeply for something real. And it's like this side of you is not going to let you settle for less than something that just feels affirming and that feels genuine. So I think it's amazing if you can actually use this part to help you really have the kind of perceptiveness that you need to find the services you need, to find the relationships that really support you, to find jobs, to find groups, to really find your people, because they're out there. And I also think that anybody who isn't able to welcome a little bit of suspicion or a little bit of a guard is going to be really tough for you to work with, and they should be, because there is something so worth knowing about the side of you with the questions. Another way that I think that you can nurture this side is, don't push for feelings so much. Like, I worked with a person who was taught to always ask themselves, like, what am I feeling now? What am I feeling? What is the emotion in my heart, right? That's hard. That's hard when it's been difficult to go straight for feelings. And I mean, there are a lot of reasons that it's probably difficult for you. The last reason on the list, because it doesn't even really make the list, is that you're not a feeling person. You're a deeply feeling person. So I touched on this in the last video a little bit, but honor your own way of processing things. There's a training I went to where the guy talked about 7 different channels of experience. So rather than trying to find your emotion, you might see, if you're looking at a situation and something isn't feeling right or something's feeling great, is there an image that it brings to mind? A lot of people with this strategy, not all, but a lot, have kind of a really strong fantasy world or a really strong like visual way of sensing into things. So you can bring that in. You can notice if there is this wasn't one of his channels of experience, it's probably my very favorite. So always one of the first things I mention, is there a song? Is there a song that keeps running through your mind? Or is there a song that a situation brings up? I play it and see what you can learn from it. And if you are working with somebody, that's a good test too, to bring in a song that really resonates, or bring in a poem, or bring in a segment of a chapter of a book or a clip of a YouTube video that resonated with you, and see what happens. Because the thing is, trying to go straight for the heartfelt, categorical emotions. I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm joyful, it it's difficult, and yet it's there. And I think another thing I see a lot with this DA style is it's not one emotion a lot of the time. It's not just like, wow, I'm so overjoyed that somebody's sitting here with me, and really cares about this. It's actually, there's a part of me that feels joy. There's a part of me that feels a guard. There's a part of me that feels grief for all the times that this didn't happen. And then there's another strategy that wants to come out front and dismiss this whole thing. And so your emotions are going to be layered, and your ways of finding them might be layered too, and that's okay. I would embrace it and really find out what these different, what is it, like, leanings towards a song or a poem, or what these different kind of thoughts that are coming in are telling you. So those are a few ideas. The main thing that I want to get across is that I I don't want you to dismiss the side of you that has the dismissive strategy, because it is so perceptive, and it's not actually trying to dismiss love. It's not actually trying to dismiss connection. It's trying to dismiss things that aren't real, that could be hurtful, that could be rejecting, that could be hostile, because you're really, really sensitive and you really want to find that resonance. And so it's going to be important to give people some breaks, and to know that maybe your vigilance is a bit edged, and yet it's so important too to find ways to really befriend that, to find out what it's saying. And even like earlier, I was saying, if you're working with somebody, or in any relationship, really, you can say, there's a part of me that's having this question, there's a part of me that's feeling this thing. It's a really, really great way to welcome what your dismissive avoidant side is saying to the party, without that side just taking over or walling off. So those are a few thoughts. Hey, if you have this strategy, I would love to hear if there are things that you really like about it, things that you think are worth cultivating, things that, even as you come into more secure attachment, things about this DA that you're just always going to want to have around. Um, or if you struggle with the side of yourself, and your impulse is to actually reject it. So thanks so much for listening and watching, and I look forward to talking more about a lot of stuff soon. Thanks, and bye for now.